For another Aztec basketball podcast. Today we're kind of catching up since we missed the USD game, so we're doing the USD game and Biola game together. Today we're joined by a few more people. We have Sarah Eishin here.
Hey.
We also have Jeffrey Goodall. I don't know if his mic is working yet or not, but Jeffrey might be joining us at some point if he gets that working. And David Frecker.
Can you hear me now?
As usual.
Sure.
Cool. We hear Jeff now. All right. So I guess we'll start with yesterday's USD game.
Ooh.
I know. First thoughts on that from anyone?
It sucked. Any other comments? It sucked.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it. So even starting before the game. Had a lot of issues with Petco Park staff and just getting into our seats.
You should have left when we did.
Yeah, I know we probably should have left when you did, but there were still drinks coming.
I know.
Hey, there's Jeff. All right, Jeff has joined us.
There we go.
Hello, sir. All right. So yeah, a little bit about yesterday's game. I don't know what really was what was going on there. Should have been kind of a blowout for the Aztecs, and we ended up. I think at half we had 13. Is that correct? Yeah, 13 at half. Shot 31%, and I think in the first half we were shooting 15. Definitely not the greatest game for the Aztecs.
Nope.
I don't know who we want to start talking with or what we want to start with. Just a disappointing game all around. Anyone have anything they want to mention?
Got out-hustled again, which seems to be a prevailing theme.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm saying that was ugly. You got to give credit where credit's due. USD came out ready to play, and they had a better game plan, in my opinion. And watching the game, I didn't go to the game, which, as David knows, that's highly uncommon. I'm a diehard Aztec, like I think everybody else in this group is, and I knew that the ticket prices were too high, and even with that, after the absolute joke of a game that was the USS Midway against Syracuse a couple years back, I don't know why anybody would want to sign up for an outdoor game again, ever. And I'll put that on admin, and I'll put that on whoever sets the games up. It wasn't a smart move.
That was Sturk on that one.
Yeah, I've heard a couple names brought up. His was certainly one of them, but there were other people that were instrumental in that are part of the athletic staff that you just kind of scratch your head and wonder what the hell were they thinking. I mean, I know what they were thinking, but then they lost control of everything, and I think Twitter kind of spoke about it last night with some of the issues, not only with concessions, but with lines, waiting, and even when you watching the game last night on television, you could tell there was actually buckled floorboards on the court from having it be laid out, a week and a half early and not having it covered properly at night.
Yep.
Yeah, and another thing about the scheduling of the game is someone brought up on the Facebook page a couple days ago was that with the RPI difference, even with a win against USD, our RPI rating was going to drop. I know it's kind of a traditional thing now to play USD every year, but you think now with literally nothing to gain, even with a win, it's definitely a risky move, and I think we're definitely going to pay for it this year with losing to them.
Well, this was the first year of a renewed 5-year contract with them, so it's going to continue. It just won't be outdoors again.
Really?
Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah. First of a renewed 5-year contract.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know. Starting just to talk, stats. We got out-rebounded on the offensive end 10-11. Defensive rebound, we out-rebounded 26-24. So we only out-rebounded them by 1 in the game, and we had a lot more length. And it's like everyone's saying, we got out-hustled. And in the beginning of the season, there were a lot of the announcers, and us as fans know that there's not really many teams that are more athletic than the Aztecs. Especially this year, we have a lot of athleticism, and just watching the USD kind of walk all over us and just output more effort than we did. Really disappointing. I guess it's kind of been a trend with the Aztecs, and of playing down to their competition every year. And that was definitely evident yesterday. I don't know if anyone asked any comments about that, but it's definitely disappointing. They do that every year.
Just living up to the hype of everybody says, oh, it starts out before the season, Elite Eight, so, Final Four, and then not so much. They just have to not pay any attention to the hype and just play.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
one big thing missing this year that we had last year, that's leadership. And I don't know, yesterday was a perfect example. We kind of saw it a little bit tonight for the people that were able to go to the game, but we have no court leader. We have no vocal leader on the court. I mean, Zylan's stepping up and kind of trying to take on that role, but as a freshman, a redshirt freshman at that, you'd think that some of the older guys would I don't want to say show passion, because those guys definitely show passion at times, but would want to step up and take on that position and lead the team, and right now we don't have that.
I think Cheatham's going to be the guy. I think he's hesitant to be that because he's the redshirt freshman, but I think that he's going to step into it.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the way that Cheatham plays. He plays with intensity every game, and I see leadership in Hemsley as a point guard. He's playing incredibly well. The only thing that it is just making a lot of freshman mistakes, and when we're this far into the season and starting to play, we're still playing not the most difficult teams to play, and he's still making those bad passes and stuff like that. I feel like he needs to start getting in mentally, start really examining tapes and learning, watching his own mistakes and learning from them, because I see a lot of potential. The guy's, I put up a stat on the Facebook page like 4 or 5 days ago about his stats. He's leading and he's number 1 in like 4 stats. He's number 2 in 2 or 3 extra stats, and those were by I think one was field goal percentage, and he was behind Skylar, but Skylar had like 20 less attempts than him, and it was 3-point percentage, which again it was behind Winston, and Winston had not even half the attempts he had. So offensively, I think he's doing well. He just needs to kind of stop making those bad passes, those freshman mistakes.
Why do they keep dribbling the ball away? What is with the unforced turnovers that even happened again tonight, Josh? You didn't see it was the same thing. They just bounce the ball and it goes wherever. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know. We're so big. We're so athletic. That's what I do like about Cheatham. He's not afraid to go to the hole, and Winston always backs off. Or he'll do his little finger roll thing. Like, when you're there, go hard for it. Stop being scared of attacking the basket. And that's one thing I really like about Cheatham, is he's not afraid to just get in there and attack.
He had one tonight, Josh. He had a good slam.
Good. Anyone else on leadership or anything like that? I personally just see a lot of sloppy passes. I see a lot of sloppy ball handling. Especially against USD, that one play with Malik, that we had a chance to tie it up, and Malik got down and just fumbled the ball away into an unforced, stupid turnover.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that USD game. It came down to a couple at the very end. There were 3 plays that stick out. That one with Malik was definitely one of them. Winston coming down and puking the ball up off the side of the backboard. And I hate to say that,
That's a good description.
I've got a lot of respect for all the guys on the team. I think that there's a lot of stress that comes with being a student athlete, not only with going to class, but also with the practices and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, you're out there for a reason, and when you're down by 2, I don't know why we're jacking up threes. Even down 4, we had Trey airball a 3-pointer, and I think that was kind of the dagger, because at that point, we go down 6, we come back down, Trey hits a 3 and pulls one out of nowhere, which I was surprised about. And
yeah, it wasn't a good look.
No, it was a terrible look. But then we trapped the ball in the corner. With 9 seconds left, we're still down. Why not foul Duda? And make him.
Yeah, and that was the play that bothered me the most. Is I don't know if they thought it was going to go into double bonus or what, but that foul would have still been a 1-and-1, which would have been. We should have fouled right away. I know they were trying to force that turnover and get the whatever violation, but it wasn't going to happen. We needed a foul, and that was just. As soon as I saw that they weren't fouling, and I threw my hat and I walked away. I had to walk away. I was going to be pissed. I was already pissed. There was no reason not to foul there. Anyway, honestly, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know if anyone else has any idea what they were thinking, but it was just a dumb play to me.
there's no 5-second clock this year, which to me kills a lot of things, or 5-second rather rule when you're defending a guy. And that's come up a couple times. It came up when we were back in Las Vegas, and I thought that there were a couple other instances, that one against USD where they're trying to trap in the corner, but there's no point in trapping in the corner unless you're going to go for the steal, and there's little time left on the clock. I mean, by no means am I second guessing the coaches, but I guess I'm questioning why not just foul the guy. You get the ball back with 8 seconds at the very worst.
Yep.
And down 4, you can drive set a play, even if you have to take a 3 at that point. Now you're down 1, and maybe there's 5 or 6 seconds, not even that. Maybe there's 3 or 4 seconds left. That still gives you a chance to run a second play and at least get a look to tie the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, just talking about that trap and stuff, there were so many times where USD was making kind of not sloppy, but we were pressuring so much they had to make not the best passes, and we almost had. I saw Dakari and Hemsley almost get at least like 3 or 4 steals on those, and they were just a step or 2 behind. I don't know if that had to do with kind of our lack of effort yesterday. I know we stepped up in the second half, but there were definitely a lot of turnovers that could have gone our way and didn't. I don't know. It's the game is just, it's in my head, and I can't even think of stats or plays because I was so upset yesterday with the entire experience. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna call out some stats. Hemsley yesterday 1 for 7, Dakari 1 for 5, Cheatham 1 for 3, Shep 1 for 5, Malik 3 for 7, and Kel 5 for 15.
Wow.
Yeah, just awful shooting. I'm gonna bring this up because someone was talking to me about it, and I talked about how Malik went 3 for 7, and that brought up his season shooting percentage to like 24%, 23%. I've talked a lot about Malik in the podcasts, and I'm going to say my opinion again. I think Malik needs to earn his minutes, and so far I don't understand why he's getting so many because I don't feel that he has earned his minutes. He even still, after these last games, has the lowest shooting percentage on the team and one of the highest three-point attempts on the team. So anyone's opinions on Malik and what coaching staff might be thinking putting him in for so many minutes?
I can only guess that the way Fisher is, because he plays the guys, he'll say, I know he can shoot. So he must practice exceptionally well, and it's not translating onto the court. So that's my guess, because usually Fisher plays the players that are practicing well. And it's, we're not seeing it yet.
Having been to a couple practices, I can tell you that the entire team shoots lights out in practice. Guys that I don't even think have taken a three-pointer yet this year with D'Arrell, hits 7 out of 10 in practice. I know that Trey struggles, a lot in practice when there's scouts around, but plays well. I mean, I feel bad because there's been a lot of pressure on Trey, I think, to perform this year and kind of pick up the slack for what JJ and some of the other guys did last year, but Malik has underperformed all year. I actually was sitting next to a scout from an NBA team back in Las Vegas, and I'll kind of leave him nameless, but his comment was that that Malik should have gone last year. He thinks he would have been a lottery pick, and just based off of potential, and he thinks that just in the first couple of games this season, he's underperformed enough and kind of shown a lack of hustle and a lack of basketball IQ, I guess, is that's not the word he used. I can't remember the exact word, but he basically said, look, he's playing himself out of the draft this year.
Yep.
They'd be surprised to see him go in the second round after next year because the competition and the caliber of player that are younger just keep getting better and better. And as you get older, as in Winston, your stock drops.
Yeah, I agree completely. He's definitely he's hurting his own stock right now, and I don't know. One thing I see in him, I don't know if he's like scared of hurting himself again or what, but a lot of the announcers are saying the same thing. He settles for the 3 instead of setting up a decent 2 shot. They said he needs to build his confidence with like a mid-range jumper before he starts settling for those 3s just to get some confidence built. And I don't know. I feel like he's definitely one of the ones that's the most afraid to get in the paint and try to make something happen when he's such a big guy. I know he doesn't have a lot of mass on him, but he's 6'10". I mean, you get in there and you you get on your tiptoes and you can dunk it basically. Like there's no point in not trying to get to the paint. You know. Yeah, he's definitely been one of the players that's kind of let me down this season. I was expecting to see a lot more out of him, and it's definitely not been that way. Yeah, back to stats for yesterday's game. 9 assists to USD's 12. I don't know. We've consistently been out-assisted in, I think, every game this season so far. 5 steals to USD's 9. I don't know. What's that?
They had more blocks than us yesterday for the first time, I think, all season as well, didn't they?
I just closed that stat. I think we outblocked them 6-4, if I remember correctly.
It was tied 6-6.
It was tied 6-6? Okay. Yeah, 2 of those came from Spencer. That was another question I had. Spencer only saw 15 minutes yesterday, I believe. I'm just wondering why, if you guys have any idea on why Spencer might not have got so many minutes. I mean, especially since USD isn't the biggest team, I feel like it could have helped a lot.
They ran that 3-2 zone, and he down low is not an offensive threat when they're running a zone against us. He has no inside game. And I hate to say that because earlier, I think the first game of the season, we saw a couple nice, 1 or 2 dribble jump hooks out of him where they looked really good. But after he ran that the first game, I think it was the second game maybe against, who was it, Arkansas? Little Rock was the second game. Where they picked up on it after the second or third possession. He just has that one dribble to the right and kind of a little sky hook.
Yeah, I don't know if the stats are the same now, but the last time I checked on the season, Spence actually had the highest field goal percentage on the team. He was somewhere around like 62%, I believe, last time I checked, and I know he went 6 for 6 tonight against Biola. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have very many attempts, but it seems like he's actually making them when he's down there.
A lot of those tonight were dunks, though. I mean, I'd say 4 out of the 6 buckets. Actually, maybe 5 out of the 6 buckets were dunks.
Tonight? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was interesting to me. And also, against USD yesterday, we didn't see any minutes from Perez, which I figured we could see a couple minutes from him to try at the end, especially to try to catch us up with a 3-point shooter.
Word is concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah,
he caught an elbow in practice.
And then got another one, too.
Oh, man.
Concussion-like symptoms. Yeah, Coach Hudson talked about that before the game tonight, or mentioned that before the game. Said he's out for a while with concussion-like symptoms, and the NCAA is really protecting against having reoccurring issues in all sports. Apparently, it's not just football. So they've got to run him through a whole slew of tests prior to games in order to get him ready, and they're hoping that he might be ready by Thursday. But he was not ready tonight either.
All right, well, that answers that question. I guess that was my biggest thing yesterday, or not biggest thing. There was a lot of things, but that was one of my questions, is why he didn't get to see anything.
Biggest was 3-point defense, because they scored 30 points off of threes. And that's always been our big problem, is we don't defend against 3 very well.
Yeah, I see a lot of guys with their hands down, especially on the perimeter. I don't know. At least at the beginning of the season, I was seeing a lot of it. Yesterday was not really paying the most attention because I was screaming my face off trying to get them excited or something. I don't know. I was excited trying to get them back in it, but I don't know. Just the last thing I want to say about that yesterday's game was, we've talked about how there was a lack of effort, and yesterday Steve Fisher in his thing said he doesn't want to have to coach effort. And that's what he had to coach when he did top PE for a short number of years. So, even Steve Fisher is saying stuff like that. I mean, I think that might have been what started something up tonight, and the guys kind of looked like they showed up. So on to tonight's game. I didn't get to watch it because it wasn't televised, and I was busy with homework and stuff, so I was listening to the radio while doing homework. But it seems like we did better. Any of you guys that saw the game want to give some feedback on that?
Agreed. Definitely more aggressive. Still giving up too much space on the perimeter, which drives us crazy because whenever they've defended the perimeter well, they're out there with their feet past the line. And then when they're being lazy, they're extending hands from the line, and then they get burnt. And it's still frustrating, but they were more aggressive in the paint, a little more energetic, but not enough.
Yeah, I did see that Biola had, it was in the 40s percentage field goals, so it looked like our D was a little off, but at least our offense stepped up tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be glad you guys didn't see it on TV, because the first 12 and a half minutes, I think it was 21-21.
Yeah.
And everybody there was like, "Are you serious right now?" We went down to 13-8 early, and then fought back a little bit. But for whatever reason, our team loves to give up the lead early, which is unlike any of the defensive characteristics we've seen in the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years from the Aztecs. There's a lack of urgency to really get out there and press hard. Other than the one game where we went up 23-3 or 21-3, whatever the score was. And the game that I can't remember who we were playing now. The game that we routed, maybe it's East Carolina. The defense has been not great. It's always been our strength, and this year I feel like it's one of our major weaknesses, especially when it comes to perimeter defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't know. Yeah, there's just something about the D this year. Someone said it yesterday that the game yesterday, the first half yesterday, was probably the worst half in Fisher era, and the only other one that could compare is Wyoming, where we scored 11 in the first half, but we didn't allow them to score 31. So, I mean, even when our offense has been terribly weak, our defense has always stepped up and kind of carried us through this season. It seems to not be as good in past seasons. Although it does seem that we were on the boards tonight against Biola, 12 offensive rebounds to their 4, 26 defensive to their 16. Yeah, anyone want to comment on what they saw? Because, again, I didn't get to see the game, so I can't really talk about too much but stats.
All I heard from listening to Uncle Teddy was the crowd booing the players early on in that game.
I wouldn't call it booing. I would call it what Jeff said, grumbling. We were definitely grumbling.
It was a reality check. I mean, it really was. It was to the point where I think a lot of people who are diehard Aztec fans that have been around for quite some time, even back to the Peterson Jim era and Jim Brandenburg and some of the coaches that were back then, kind of sat there scratching our heads going, okay, we played terrible yesterday, and last time this happened, they came out with the fire lit under their ass the following day, or the day later, whatever it was, and they played extremely well and came out and put some distance between themselves and East Carolina and were ready to play. And tonight you got the sense that, okay, it might be time to hit the panic button, and really question what's going on here. Why is there no offensive plays set up? To this day, I still don't understand why we can't inbound the ball. Why there's no reason for us to ever have a 5-second call called on this, taking the ball out of bounds. And I think we've given up more turnovers this season on 5-second calls than we ever have in any other seasons, in the past probably decade.
I would say just in the West Virginia game, we probably gave up more inbounding 5-second violations than in seasons past.
Yeah. But there's no reason for that. That comes down to setting up simple plays. I mean, if you think back to, I don't know if any of you guys were here when Coach Trinkle was around, but Coach Trinkle's teams never had an issue getting the ball in bounds. That was the one thing that they did really, really well, was there was always an out-of-bounds play where a guy got a wide-open layup, or a wide-open look from somewhere, and usually got contact, in addition to that, so they were getting not only the bucket, but they were also getting free throws.
There was a play when Biola was inbounding, and they would have had the easy bucket, but the guy blew it, and that was on them, not us. But we would have given up the easy bucket, and those annoy me.
There might have been 2 of those tonight, Sarah.
Say again?
I said there might have actually been 2 of those tonight, because I know the one where the guy missed the wide open look, but there's another time where I think we didn't even defend the guy and they didn't even see him. They passed it the opposite way to the wing over on the 3-point line. It was like, holy crap.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating to say the least when you see the guys just not paying attention. I mean, I know we have a lot of younger players, but their basketball IQ should be a lot higher than that. I mean, they're at a Div 1 school that's been doing consistently well, and I mean, because of just the lack of basic I don't know, awareness on the court, it's losing us games and putting us in danger. I mean, right now I feel like unless we win the Mountain West Conference or the tournament, I mean, it's kind of up in the air if we're even going to make the tournament at this point with the bad losses we already have against Little Rock and against USD now. I mean, it's
Little
going to be
Rock,
rough.
I don't think Little Rock's a horrible loss. I know that everybody was sitting there groaning about it, and certainly it was a bad loss. I think the USD game is by far a worse loss than
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Swallow, especially as a fan. But the interesting thing tonight was hearing that Biola, of all teams, was actually they had a far more senior latent roster, juniors and seniors. I think our team is kind of split 50-50 when you really think about it. We might have one more underclassmen than upperclassmen, but by no means should we be making the mistakes that we're making for any reasons. I mean, I think it comes back to everything we've talked about, or everything that's been talked about tonight is fundamentals. You know, and I know we have the athleticism, but are we not coaching the fundamentals on a daily basis? Because if you look at teams in the past, it's always been free throws, but at this point, it's everything. It's literally dribbling the ball. It's setting and using screens. It's getting open and reading your defender. You know, not determining where you're going to go when you get a screen.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned the free throws, and I think, I mean, for this season, I don't have the stat in front of me, but I feel like it's one of our better free throw shooting teams we've had in several years. We're actually making buckets that have saved a couple games for us.
Absolutely. We are in the 70% now, 70 percentile range for free throw shooting,
which is it's not great, but it's better than normal.
It's a lot better than normal because we've always been in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Skylar's shooting 75 or 80% doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Even with it's still a shot put, but just with the opposite hand now. It's definitely not pretty.
And some rotation.
Yeah. So, starting to talk about the players. Zylan Cheatham, player of the game, 5 for 8, career high 16 points. I don't know if you guys can comment on some of his plays tonight, what he was looking like.
Aggressive at times, lazy at times, but mostly out there and playing as hard as Coach Fisher is trying to instill in them. We need them all to play that hard. He had a good game.
I'm gonna echo what Sarah said, but I'm also a little bummed because he had like 11 points 12 or 13 minutes into the game, and I figured he'd go off for at least 20-25 tonight. And then he didn't let up. I think he just ran out of steam. He's basically become what Xavier Thames was 2 years ago. It was our go-to guy, you know, our motor and our motor freshman. To have to take on that role is kind of disappointing because it shouldn't be his burden, especially this early in the season. I can understand if we're later on. And another thing that was shared when we were back in Las Vegas by the same Scott I was talking about earlier was that he said, you know, you have two potential NBA draft picks on your roster right now, and he said they could be the best duo by the end of the season in the Mountain West Conference, and next year he thinks they could be the best duo in all of NCAA basketball with Hemsley and Cheatham.
Yeah, they're good. They play off each other. I like that.
That's part of the problem is hearing talk like that and thinking they're there already and letting up and not playing as hard as they should be. So they need to not listen to that kind of talk and just play.
Yeah, and you know, go ahead.
The one thing Zylan's missing that this scout talked about was a mid-range jumper. He said if Zylan had a mid-range jumper right now with his motor, with his athleticism, he thinks he could be a draft pick, you know, this year. But he said the guy's got his shot is not first, it's not pretty. Second, it goes in, you know, on occasion from deep. I think he's probably 60% from the year, you know, from three-point range. I don't know. I don't have the stat in front of me, but he said, you know, when you look at his shot, it's not a quick release. It's definitely something that he needs to work on. But he's around the boards. He's around the basketball. He really plays with a high aggressiveness when it comes to getting to the basket. Tonight, I mean, the first 3 minutes of the game, he took over and really pushed us out there early. And he's the one reason we didn't get behind by more than, you know, 3 or 5, I think it was what it was at the very most when they led. And then we came all the way back. But it was because he was being extremely aggressive, more so than I think a lot of people realize he could be.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about Zylan too is he's aggressive, but it takes me back to the Long Beach game where he kept his cool even when getting a basketball thrown in his face. I feel like a lot of people that play with that amount of aggression, they're not gonna take something like that so lightly. And I think that was a smart play by him. It showed a lot of character on him that he's gonna take one for the team and not lose his cool and hurt the team for that.
Yeah, we know what Jamal would have done.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so some more interesting things. Trey Kell 0 for 3 tonight, 12 minutes. I heard he got hurt, so I don't know what that was about. He didn't play in the second half from what I heard. And Dakari Allen, 32 minutes in the game, only 3 attempts shooting, and he went 1 for 3. For you guys that watched it, is there any reason that in 32 minutes he only had 3 attempts, or was there something different going on with him tonight?
How many assists did he have?
I don't know. We only had 9 assists on the game, so I didn't check how many he had personally, but
he was getting guarded pretty well tonight, and they were holding him on a lot of when he was coming off of picks. The defensive player was doing a great job of grabbing a handful of jersey, and we got 0 calls tonight, which was the first in a long time, I think. It was almost as though the officials were either completely oblivious to the fact that San Diego State was the home team, or they just didn't care, and were trying to keep it close early because the stuff that was happening was you can't blame it all on the officials, but to let as much stuff go as there were in the first, 3 or 4 minutes. Zylan got hacked on a ball early that cost him 2 points and an easy bucket for the other team. Trey was coming off of stuff and getting hit. Dakari was getting held. Guys were, even in the USD game, going back to that yesterday, I think you shared a stat about Hemsley shooting poorly, but if you watched every time he was going to the rim or trying to get to the middle, he was getting either stripped or clobbered, and they weren't calling it.
Yeah, especially that I think late in the game when he got called for a charging foul, and they showed the replay. The guy, he wasn't even close to set. Both his feet were in the air. He was like jumping over to his spot, and the refs called a charge that I think could have tied the game up. If I remember the score correctly, or it could have brought us within 1 or 2. But yeah, the officiating this year, I know the new rules are different, and I've been watching that and expecting for that kind of stuff, but I don't know what it is about Mountain West refs, man, but they definitely I don't like them most of the time. It's not that it's just against us; it's just bad calls going both ways, and it ruins a game.
Yeah.
Where are the who are the refs for tonight? Isn't that on the stats?
It's on the ESPN Go. Let me see if I can go back to that.
I want to say
Randy McCall, Dorian. You got it.
McCall's one of the best.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so
I got it.
I don't know. I didn't get to see what it was to yesterday or today, what refs they were, but yeah, yesterday they were definitely a lot of weird, interesting calls. So yeah, let's just see. Going back to anything else tonight, looks Malik went 2 for 3 tonight from 3. Was he getting better looks tonight? I feel like in the beginning of the season, people were saying he wasn't getting set up so well, and lately I feel like he's been getting a lot better looks, and they just haven't been falling. Anything different happening tonight for him that helped him land them, or he just was more confident?
Biola was just worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was stepping into shots, though. At the same time, he was a lot of the times you see Malik try to do something, it's last year it was his behind the back move from right to left and bringing it back between his feet to his shooting hand, and teams caught onto that quick. This year he hasn't gone to that yet. And he's been kind of drifting. He hasn't really been set. He's been falling either to the side or backwards on all his shots. And tonight he looked like he was pretty well set. Even the one look that he took that didn't go in, I thought was halfway down and came back out.
All right, cool. So that's comforting to hear that he's shooting better. I don't know. I don't really have any more notes from tonight's game, and like I said, I didn't get to watch. So is there anything else we should be talking about from tonight's game that was exciting or extraordinary, anything like that?
Just the desperation. Spencer, it went in.
That was a cool play. But the one thing that happened that you wouldn't have seen unless you were at the game was we're starting to mix in some different offenses and actually try to run some plays, which is the first time I've seen it all season. And I don't know if Sarah caught on to that. I'm guessing she probably did.
Finally.
But yeah, we were actually calling stuff, and it looked like we actually had a team that was running an offensive system out there and running through entire plays. Coach pulled Winston twice where they said, hey, run all the way through motion or whatever they were calling. And the one time he jacked up a 3 as soon as he touched the ball, and he sat on the bench for about 5 minutes. The next time he went in, they just had to run it through the same thing again, and he didn't do it that time, but the very next time down the court he did something stupid, and they pulled him a second time. So it's good to see that, I have some hope for this team. I realize that we've seen spurts of greatness. I think Cal was a pretty good one. I think last night, even the comeback to get to within 2 points and play as hard as they did after that shitty start shows you that there's a lot more in the tank. It's just a matter we have yet to play a complete basketball game all season with 2 good halves. And I know that a lot of people are going to give up on them if they haven't already, and there's certainly a lot of talk about switching up the rotation and the no senior leadership. I think if we can establish that court leader, this could be a pretty good team. This could be a team that wins a lot of consecutive games. If you look at where we're playing this year in the terms of conference schedule, we play at all the places that we really don't want to play other than Wyoming, but I think we're going to be all right there with my only real concern being Boise at Boise and UNLV home and away, because UNLV's team is going to give us fits with the athleticism. And we're still not doing what we said we were going to do early. I think if you listen to the coaches early on, they said, hey, we're going to run and push the ball for 40 straight minutes. I haven't seen them run and push the ball a single game once yet.
Mm-mm.
No,
So I'm waiting for that to happen because we have depth. We've got 12 or 13 players that can play. We have the ability to do a full line change 4 or 5 at a time or 3 or 4 at a time, and run away with a lot of games that I don't know if it's the coaches holding back. I don't know if it's the team not having the chemistry. I don't know what it is, but the parts are all there. It's just a matter of kind of figuring out the best way to lube them up and oil them and create the right circuit, because I think that we're not too far off, even though we've got the bad loss last night and the one other one. Other than that, I mean, we got out-hustled 2 out of the last 4 games. West Virginia, we got beat to death by the guy. The officials weren't calling anything, and those guys were just they were far more aggressive. We're missing an aggressive guy on the court, whether it was Jamal in the years past or Billy, and Lorenzo Wade, guys that would go after there and be the dirty guy that had to get after it. We don't have that guy yet, but I think Zylan might be that proverbial X factor, so to speak, when he gets a little more confidence behind him.
Yeah, and one thing I heard you say is Winston tonight going in and putting up a shot right when he gets the ball. I've been seeing that a lot this year, especially from him and a couple other guys, where we have plenty of time, 20 plus seconds on the shot clock, and they'll just throw something up when it's an ugly look. I think that coach is trying to do something about that, where he basically completely changed up the starters, where it's now Chol and Hemsley and Dakari and them, and Winston's off the bench. And I like Winston off the bench. I feel like he brings more to the team when he's able to kind of sit back and get a glimpse of what's going on and really figure out what he needs to do. And he comes in and lights a fire. I mean, especially against who were we playing? Cal, I think, where he came in and had that 15-point half or 17-point half.
Yep. Second half.
Yeah, second half. It's changed a lot. But I mean, what is it about these guys that they feel so pressured to shoot so early in the shot clock when we don't need to? It's definitely it's upsetting to me. I mean, I see it especially, like I said, from Winston a lot, where we'll have 20 plus seconds, he'll go down the court and just throw something up, and I'm like, dude, at least pass the ball once,
There's a couple guys that have the green light. I know Kell's got the green light. I know Hemsley had the green light. I don't know what happened yesterday, because I would have thought he would have shot a lot more from deep, and he didn't. He was trying to penetrate and I think get to the line, but they weren't calling it. And I know that Perez actually has the green light. And I think that's what's been missing right now is Perez is kind of that. You look at him, he's very, very high basketball IQ player. He can hit the open shot when he gets it, and he's a hustler. He's a grinder when it comes to playing and getting after the ball on the court.
And he can get put-back dunks. That was probably one of my favorite moments from this season, watching Perez get that put-back dunk.
Yep.
Oh, man.
But there's a maturity factor that's missing, and I think we talked about that.
Yeah, no, there's definitely someone that needs to step up as a leader, and I think Himsley's trying to do that. Honestly, I see him talking with Winston a lot. You know, they'll have their little powwows on the court and stuff. I mean, I don't know if Winston's necessarily the person he should be talking to, but um, yeah, it's just a lack of leadership. We need someone. We need a DJ Gay that'll slow things down when we need to slow things down and set up some stuff. And I feel like for the past couple of years we haven't really had that role filled. I mean, we had X-Man, and he was doing well, and then it's just, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lack of leadership that's been, no one's the one that has the IQ and knows exactly what to happen or what needs to happen and at what time. Um, so this year we just need someone to step up. Like you said, we have all the parts, we have a lot of talent. We just need to get those parts working together.
It's a long season. I think a lot of people have seen more losses in the first couple months than they have in past years, and they're kind of losing hope. But you got to remember, these are 18 to 21-year-old kids. There's a lot of stuff that happens off the court that I'm sure we as fans don't know about and hear about. And there's always something going on, that's we're one good play away from, or one, I guess, good leadership role away from being a really competitive, athletic, fun team. I feel like we had one game against ECU where we played fun. We played with some swag. We went out there and we had a good time. And then the second half of Cal. And other than that, these guys aren't playing to have fun. They're out there, kind of playing almost scared, which is something that I don't think we've ever seen out of a San Diego State team before.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered most of what we want to cover. Just any last final thoughts on the team up to this point in the season before we end the broadcast here?
I'm not ready to give up. I'm not in the camp of, NIT, we're done. No, I agree with Jeff that this is a good team. They're going to be a good team. They may not be great. They may not be Elite Eight, but we're not done yet. A lot to be developed, and, there's time. I think we're going to be fine.
Yep.
I think you're going to hear a bold prediction here, a couple of bold predictions. I think we're a great team. I think we're an Elite Eight team that's just missing leadership. And as soon as we establish that leader, I think this whole season gets turned around. I think we come out and play hard the next couple of games, and then take a nice little break before Kansas. We come out and we play Kansas tough with the opportunity late to upset them, which I think a lot of people are calling as a blowout. And I think we go into conference with a new confidence about us, and I actually think we can run the. I don't want to say go undefeated, but we're gonna definitely turn some heads early in conference. And I think that if we can get past UNLV at UNLV in the tournament, we got a chance to do something special this year.
Cool. David, last thoughts?
I agree. I'm one of those people, though, that thinks that we're in the must-win territory now because the USD loss with the RPI. Not very good. As Jeff said, we're going to have to play UNLV in Vegas. They're currently playing one of the best teams right now. The Thomas and Mack is going to host the Mountain West, so I think we need to get some big wins before we go to Vegas and have to play them.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'm agreeing with a lot of what you're saying. If someone can step up and take over that leadership role, we have a great team. We need Malik to find his stroke, because it seems like no matter what, he's going to be getting those minutes and he's going to be taking those shots. He needs to find it, because offensively we need him bad. Himsley needs to step up. The last two games he hasn't played so hot. Defensive has always been our strong point, and this season it's lacking. We need to step up on defense. We need to step up on offense. We just need to come out and play. I mean, we're athletic. We need to play with that energy. We need to play with like a desire to win, and don't play down to our opponents like we always have, and probably, unfortunately, will continue. So that wraps it up for this week's podcast for SDSU versus USD and Biola. I want to thank Sarah Eischen and Jeff for joining us this week. Every week after the game, we'll be doing this. It's after almost every game at night. We'll be posting it in the SDSU official student page, so if you want to join us, go ahead and hit us up when we do that. And see you guys next time.